Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers and then start our class. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Tatsavitra Varenayam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya tamso ma jyotirgamya mrityurma amritam gamya. Om Sahnavavtu Sahnabhunaktu Saviryam Karvavahi Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whenever we study, whether it's a Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or any other Hindu scriptures, we often mention the gross body, the subtle body, the causal body. So today's topic is the definitions of these bodies according to our scriptures. So gross body is called Sathul body, and subtle body is called Suksham Sharir. So Sathul Sharir, Suksham Sharir, and causal body is called Karana Sharir. First, I'm going to give you a verse from our scriptures. What this Sharir, which is called Sathul, is. Then after that, I'll talk about the Suksham Sharir, then the causal, the Karan Sharir. So Sathul Sharir, what is it? Our rishis, they say, Panchikrit, Panch Mahabhut, Kritam Satkaram Janyam. Sukh Dukh Adi Bhog Ayatnam Shriram Asti Jayate Vardhate Viparinamate. Apakshiyate Vinashyati Iti Shat Vikarvat Etat Sathul Shariram. So how do we translate this into English? That which is made up of the 5 great elements. Panch Mahabhut. So that which is made up of the 5 great elements that have undergone the process of Panchikaran. Panchikrit Panch Mahabhute. Born as a result of the great good actions of the past. Sat Karam Janyam. The counter of experiences like joy, sorrow, etc. And subject to the 6 modifications, namely, to potentially exist, to be born, to grow, to mature, to decay, and to die, is the gross body, the Sathul Sharir. So first of all, these rishis are telling us that this Sathul body is made up of the 5 great elements which have undergone the process of grossification. That's Panchikarna. And 5 great elements are space, air, fire, water, and earth. When they undergo a process of grossification, it is called Panchikaran. So they form the 5 gross elements. There's a permutation and combination of these, and that's how we visualize these elements. So we perceive them. Otherwise, we cannot perceive these elements separately. Our body is also a part of this world, and that's why it's made up of these 5 gross elements, Sathul Sharir. This body can be perceived by the 5 senses, by our own self, and by others also, both inside and outside, and that's why it's called gross. It disintegrates with time. That's why it's called Sharir. Shariryam anatvat Sharira. So at death, the body disintegrates back to the 5 elements from which it is formed. So that's why death is called Panchatvam Apuha. That is another name for death. That means it attains back to the 5 elements. So actually, the body, being part of the 5 elements, is never separate from them. None of the 5 elements separately or together belong to us. Yet we regard that this body, which is a combination of these 5 elements, to be me or us. And we relate to other such aspects related to this body as mine. And that is ignorance, avidya. This body, like every other object, can be indicated as this. In Sanskrit, it's called etat, this. I, the knower of this, am different from it. This is my body. And then another beautiful way these rishis, they have explained this human body, sat karam janyam. This human body is the result of actions done in the past. What kind of actions? Good actions. Sat karam. Because human birth is the finest in the creation. In this birth, we have the choice to evolve or devolve. Choice is ours. We are endowed with a subtle intellect that can discriminate between right and wrong, which is called buddhi. We can understand what is real, what is unreal, what is temporary, what is permanent. Through this human body, we can attain the supreme truth. That's why our rishis, they said, Sat Karam Janyam. So the human birth is surely the result of good actions done in the past. Knowing its rarity and uniqueness, we should not waste this precious birth, because we can achieve the purpose for which we gained this body. We should always remember that. Then defining this gross body, the rishis, they said, Sukh dukh adi bhog ayatanam. Just like in a store, shop, all transactions, they take place at the counter. When the counter closes, all transactions, the incoming, outgoing, they all stopped. The same way, this body is the counter through which we reap our experiences of joy and sorrow. These transactions temporarily cease when we sleep and permanently at death. The body is also compared to a city with 9 gates. Nav dware pure dehi. Bhagwan Krishna said that. Just as the traffic passes through the gates, the transactions of life happen through the 9 gates of this body. 9 apertures or openings. For example, we are familiar with this mouth. Through mouth we eat. Then another way he defined this, or you can say another characteristics of this Sathul Sharir, Shat Vikar Vat. Shat means 6. The body undergoes 6 modifications. The physical body, the Sathul Sharir goes through these. Number 1 is Asti, potential existence. Mother experiences changes within. And then the doctor confirms the presence of the fetus in the mother's womb. That's called Asti. The second stage is Jayate, is born. After 9 months, the child emerges from the mother's womb to experience the outer world. The third modification is Vardhate. It grows. Nourished by the food, the body grows initially more height, width also. And then the fourth modification is Viparinamate. It matures. It attains adolescence and matures, and over time attains its peak physical vitality. Fifth stage is when it starts to decay. Apakshiyate. Slowly the limbs weaken, hair grays, skin loosens, and energy ebbs away. That is called apakshiyate, aging. And the sixth modification for this physical body is vinashyati. It dies. Because finally it disintegrates to totally go back to its constituent elements. And we call this death. I, the pure self, am a witness to all the modifications of the body. So I remember as a baby, as a teenager, as a mature adult, as an old person, all these changes, who witnesses? I do. I am neither born nor do I die with the body. Only out of the false identification do I say I am dying, I am fat, I am sick, etc. Knowing that I am different from the body, I need not neglect the body. It is a vehicle that we use to transact with world. That's why rishis, what did they say? Shri Ramadhyam Khalu Dharam Sadhanam. Another thing they said, Deho Devalya Prokta. It is the temple which houses the pure self. That's why we need to keep it clean. It's our duty to keep it fit for use. But at the same time, not getting too attached to it or falsely identifying with it. That's where the problem lies. So these are some of the facts about this Sathul Sharir. So Panchikrit, Panch Mahabhute, Kritam, Sat Karam Janyam, Sukh Dukhadi, Bhog Ayatnam, Shriram Ati Jayate, Vardate, Viparinamate, Apakashiyate, Vinashyate iti Shat Vikarvat Etat, Sathul Shariram. I hope you have a better understanding of this physical body. We got to treat it properly. It is a gift given to us by God to attain the higher realms. This is the vehicle we are living in. It's our utmost duty to take care of it, but at the same time, not getting attached to it. If somebody gets attached or identifies with the car or the house, we call that person ignorant or a child. The same way, if a human being identifies with this body or gets attached to this physical body, according to our rishis, it's an ignorant person, agyani. And we don't want to stay agyani. Now let's look at the subtle body, the suksham sharir. What is that? Because we all have that too. Apanchikrit, panch mahabhute, kritam, सत कर्म जन्यम सुख दुख आदि भोग साधनम पंच ज्ञान इंद्रियानि पंच कर्म इंद्रियानि पंच प्राण आद्या मना च एकम बुद्धि च एकः एवं सप्तदशा का भी सह यत तिष्ठति तत् सूक्ष्म शरीरम. See how much effort our rishis have put in to open it up for us. Not just one word, but a whole verse. So what is the subtle body? According to our rishis, that which is composed of 5 great elements which have not undergone grossification. See, the Sathul body has gone through the Panchikaran, the Suksham Sharir has not, Apanchikrit. So that which is composed of the 5 great elements which have not undergone grossification, again, born of good actions of the past, the instrument for the experience of joy, sorrow, etc., constituted of 17 items. Sapt dash ka bhi, that means 17. Sapt means 7, dash means 10. So 7 plus 10, we all know that is 17. Namely, the 5 sense organs of perception, 5 sense organs of actions, 5 prans, the mind and the intellect is the subtle body. So pervading the gross body is the subtle body. So the very first big word is apanchikrit mahabhut kritam. So the 5 great elements in their original form, they have not gone through that modification. That's why it's also called tan matra. The subtle essence of those gross elements. So this entire subtle world is constituted from their permutation and combination. The subtle body, being part of the subtle world, is also made up of the subtle elements. Remember that. Bhagavan Krishna, he said, it's almost like the fragrance of the flower. when it leaves, the same way all these tanmatras leave like a fragrance. They are called subtle body as they cannot be perceived by our senses. Just like I cannot see somebody else's mind. And thank God for that. Or my own with my gross eyes. But I am aware of the thoughts in my mind. That's called Sakshi Bhav. The subtle body enlivens the gross body. And when it leaves the gross body, we say a person is dead and gone. Subtle body is also called a Ling Sharir. Ling Sharir because it exhibits the presence of life in the society. And Sat Karam Janyam, again, the word we saw in the previous, in the Sathul Sharir also. We all can see that human birth is the result of the good actions of the past. Punyena punyam, papena papam, ubhyam manushya lokam. So with the prominence of the merits, we gain a heavenly body. With the demerits, an animal or lower body. And with the balance of both, we gain a human body. Okay, that's why in a human body, we go through sukh also, dukh also. There are some karma we did which were virtuous and some vicious. So combination. So in both the higher and the lower bodies, our merits or demerits are exhausted with no new ones being formed. Only as a human being we are forming new actions, new karma. That's why human birth is called a karma yoni. We exhaust the old one also, but we can create new ones also. But devatas or other beings other than the humans, they are in a bhog yoni. They only exhaust the old ones. So that's why this human birth is considered the greatest of all. Only through this birth we can attain our highest goal, which is moksha. In the human body, we can harvest a rich crop of merits. Through our good actions. We can accumulate a lot. Or we can become a karma yogi also. Or only in a human body, we can become a karma sannyasi also. This is the greatness of this human birth. We all know that our actions differ. Our subtle bodies are also different. Even identical twins, we see the difference in them because of this subtlety of the actions. Then another word we saw in this definition, yogsadhanam. It is the mind, intellect of the subtle body that actually experiences joy, sorrows, heat, cold, etc. The body feels no pain or honor when pricked or garlanded as hurting and pleasing, respectively. It is through our mind and intellect, through this subtle body. Because it is the mind that recognizes it. Mind is the one which says, I am being honored or I am being rebuked. Anything you hold in your hand is unaware that you are holding it. Because that particular object has no subtle body. It could be a book, it could be a pen, it could be a computer, or your phone. But you are aware that you hold it through the functioning of your subtle body. So in the deep sleep state, when the mind intellect stops functioning temporarily, there is no experience of the world. So that's why these rishis, they said, it's a yo bhog sadhanam. Bhog ka sadhan, this subtle body. Then sapt dash kala. The 17 components of the subtle body are the sense organs of perception, the 5 organs of action, the 5 prans, the mind and the intellect. The capacity to perceive and cognize does not lie in the external organ, but rather in something subtler behind it, which we don't pay much attention. Because we are so attached to the physical body of ours, we don't see that the reality behind it. The external organ is only a part of the gross body. By itself, it cannot perceive or respond to any stimulus. For example, even the blind person has eyes, but no sight. The faculty of sight that lies behind the eye is the actual sense organ. The same way, the prans are the physiological functions without which the body cannot remain alive. These prans supply energy to the gross body also and to the subtle body also. And mind is the seat of the emotions, perceptions, capacity of volition, etc. And the intellect recognizes, observes, intellect judges, analyzes, and even conceptualizes. It imagines, it decides. All those functions are done by our intellect. The mind and intellect prompt the body into action. The subtle body is the driver of the vehicle, the cause for all incomplete or successful ventures. So this is the detailed definition and the explanation of our Suksham Sharira. अपंचीकृत पंच महाभूत ही कृतम सत्कर्म जन्यम सुख दुख आदि भोग साधनम पंच ज्ञान इंद्रियानि पंच कर्मेन्द्रियानि पंच प्राण दया मना च एकम बुद्धि च एका एवं सप्तश का भी सह यत तिष्ठति तत् सूक्ष्म शरीरम. So now we have gone through the Sathul Sharir, the Suksham Sharir. How about the Karan Sharir? How did our rishis define that? Anirvachya anadi avidyam rupam sharir dvasya karan matram sat savrup agyanam nirvikalp rupam yad asti tat karan shariram. So this is the definition or the explanation of the Karan Sharir according to our rishis. That which cannot be explained. Anirvachya. Anadi, which is beginningless. In the form of ignorance, avidya-rupam, the sole cause of the two bodies. Sharir dvasya. What are these two bodies? Which we have already talked about. The gross body and the subtle body. So Karan Sharir is the cause of this body or these bodies. When he says, ignorant of one's own true nature. Sat Savrup Agyanam doesn't know the real thing. Free from duality is the causal body. Yad asti tat karan shariram. So causal body is the subtlest of the three bodies, and it's pervaded the other two. So the subtler the thing, the more pervasive it is. See, just like a gross body is pervaded by the subtle body, because subtle body is subtler than the gross body, and causal body is subtler than the other two, so it pervades the other two bodies. And the very first word, it says avidya rupam. It is of the nature of ignorance. Avidya. See, vidya means knowledge, avidya is ignorance. And ignorance has no shape, no size or quality. That's ignorance. Because it's always to an object, for example, ignorance of computers. But by itself, it is objectless. So we try to relate it with the objects, but by itself, it's objectless. I am the locus of ignorance. Ignorance cannot exist without me. I exist, therefore I can be ignorant. Anirvachyam. Since it has no shape, size, or quality, it cannot be described by words or even grasped by the mind. Because mind can grasp only something which has a physicality. It doesn't have that. So that's why anirvachyam. Because ignorance implies the lack of knowledge. It does not actually have any existence, yet it cannot be said to be non-existent. Because we experience it in its effects. It manifests as the gross and the subtle bodies, and we also experience the sorrows caused by ignorance. So cannot explain it, but we see the effects of it. So that's why we cannot say that it doesn't exist, but we cannot define it. We cannot touch it because it's objectless. Being nothing, it still does a great deal. So that's why we say that it is so powerful, yet we cannot explain it. Anirvachya. Anadi. Anadi word is beginningless. If we say ignorance began at a particular time, then there should have been either a void, but ignorance cannot emerge from nothing. There must be something that it came out from. It is so powerful. So we cannot say there was a void. And we cannot say it came out of knowledge, because ignorance cannot come out of knowledge. So that's why they say anadi. We cannot point out a beginning for ignorance. So that's why it's called beginningless. शरीर द्वयस्य है कारण मात्रम. Just like I mistake a rope for a snake, we often use that example. I feel scared, run away from it. Ignorance of the rope caused the notion of the snake, which gave rise to fear in the mind, which in turn prompted the body to run. The effect of that ignorance. The same way, not knowing my true nature, I mistakenly identify with the finite, feel a sense of incompleteness, desire to fulfill myself. That's why we run from one object to another. We think that world will make us happy. And that's what rishis called ignorance. Ignorance is at the root of all our actions. It is ignorance when we say that we are doing the actions. We all know in reality, I, the Atma, is always the akarta, actionless. So the ignorance in us says that I do the actions. Or then we start saying, oh, I do the best actions. That's all ignorance. Actions give rise to results which I enjoy or suffer, which leave behind the vasanas, the tendencies, which prompt future desires. Actions, results. So we say that all the inherent tendencies prompt actions. We have already seen that the two bodies, gross body and the subtle body, are the result of actions, inherent tendencies, otherwise called the causal body, which is the cause for the other two bodies. So out of this ignorance, these two bodies emerged. Sat Savrup Agyanam, that is another term in this definition. I know I exist. Sat Savrup. I do not, however, know my own true nature. Is existence, consciousness, bliss. I think I'm the body, the doer of the actions, enjoyers of the results. It is a strange phenomena that I know so much about the world, but I do not know the knower. And all the more ironic that this is me alone. So Sat Savrup Agyanam. So agyan, or the ignorance of our Sat Savrup. We are part of that whole, but we have forgotten. That is ignorance. Nirvikalp Rupam. Ignorance is homogeneous, it has no difference, it has no dualities of the knower and the known. Nirvikalp Rupam. So ignorance cannot be known, but knowledge dispels it. See, my ignorance cannot be different from yours. The object of ignorance may differ, but ignorance remains the same. There are degrees in knowledge, but there are no degrees in ignorance. That's why it's called nirvikalpam rupam. Because it's beyond the thought. Nirvikalp. Vikalp means a thought. It's beyond the thoughts. Or you can say without the thoughts. Nirvikalpam. But on the other hand, rishis, they say ignorance can be destroyed by knowledge. So this causal body or Karan Sharir is not eternal. It's a beginningless. We don't know when it started, but we can end it. Because the self, the soul, Atma, being beyond birth and death, is eternal. Causal body is not eternal. So that's why I am different from my causal body. So I am different from my physical body. I am different from my subtle body. I am different from my causal body too. We got to know our true nature. We need to experience that. Experience of that these three bodies, gross, subtle, and the causal, I am neither one of them. Those are just the containers given to me, upadhis given to me, so that I can know myself, who I am. Because sometimes we wonder, what is the goal of life? This is the goal. We need to know who we are. Not theoretically. Right now, we are just going through the words given to us by these great rishis. But we need to experience ourselves. In the light of that experience, ignorance goes away. Even living in this physical body, using the subtle body, understanding this causal body, we can know who we are. Those are the Jivan Mukta personalities. They are liberated, but they are in a human body. Those are the role models for us. Because there are always some footsteps we are walking on. Those are the footsteps. So again, this Karan Sharir, Anirvachya, Anadi, Avidya Rupam, Sharir Dvasya, Karan Matram, Sat Savrupa Jnanam, Nirvikalp Rupam, Yad Asti Tat Karan Shariram. So these three definitions of these three bodies which we have gotten. And again, these rishis are saying we got these three bodies because of our sat karam. Good karam we did, but now we got to go beyond this karam. We got to know who we are in essence. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much for joining.